right, and welcome back, everybody, to Game 2 of HongUn.Prime.we versus Liquid.TLO here in the round of 32 of the Gigabyte StarsWar Killer Tournament number 6. I am Prodigy, and with me is Orb, and we're going to be here on Metalopolis for Game 2. So what do you expect this map is going to add to this game? Of course, we're watching two very creative players, but last game we saw TLO make nothing but Marauders, and HongUn.Prime just make Colossus and run them over, so kind of standard Terran versus Protoss there last time around.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. It really was pretty standard when you think about it. Really not what you'd expect from these players. But I mean, TLO in a little bit of a tough position right now that he did lose that game. And in a best of 3, when you're down 0-1, you kind of feel like you have to kind of scrounge for something to really pull yourself back into it. It's a nervous position to be in. But I really hope that he's going to use that to his advantage and be able to really catch his opponent off guard in trying to pull out a win to make sure he doesn't get knocked out here.
Yeah, so I've got this next game loaded up. So we dive right into it. So I'm going to hit the play button in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so dropping in at our 9 o'clock base is Liquid.TLO, our red Terran. And at the 3 o'clock, we have HongUn.Prime, playing another name, Zephyr Prime, as our green Protoss here. So cross positions on Metalopolis, just going to mean, of course, that both of these Naga towers are going to be in effect. Probably, most likely not, of course, going to be seeing a very long macro game on this map in cross positions. It's going to be very difficult to walk units like Marauders all the way across the map to your opponent's base and do any type of pressure. So I would definitely not be surprised to see a lot of drops given these positions and a lot of really heavy macro play.
Yeah, these positions, it's going to be really hard to apply any early pressure and do a lot of damage in the early game. The only real way for either of these players to circumvent that is to either proxy a bunch of barracks or proxy some pylons and go for a quick warp gate rush. And knowing these two players is definitely not out of the question, but still, right now TLO is down a game, so he's going to want to go for something that's a little bit more on the safe side. And considering we're using the latter version of Metalopolis with the close ground positions actually enabled rather than disabled like we're seeing in so many tournaments nowadays, it's going to change up the playstyles a little bit, and they're going to go for those safe openings in the event that they do spawn in that close ground position and immediately start getting cheesed over. So those save openings are definitely going to be something that really change the way this matchup is going to play out so far. So you've seen a standard opening out of both of these players so far, with TLO getting his barracks right on 12 and that gateway going down on 12 or 13 with the assimilator shortly after. And again, just really standard openings out of both these players. So a macro game, not out of the question yet, but still too early to tell, as there's still a number of all-in timings that either of these players could choose to go for at this point in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many all-ins that you can still do. Even down to like the 10-minute mark, you can have these Raven Banshee rushes coming out. You can have some type of DT rush, etc. There's all kinds of stuff that can still happen, but completely standard from both players so far. We do see a factory getting dropped down from Liquid.TLO right after his first barracks. Hasn't even made an add-on on that barracks yet. So what do you think we're going to be seeing out of this factory?
Well, mech play has really been starting to gain a lot of popularity in this matchup just because of how good things like Sea Shanks, Blue Flame Hellions, and Thors are. And it's not out of the question that we could be seeing a 1-1-1 opening out of TLO, going for something like Banshees or a quick Raven Rush or anything like that. As the 1-1-1 opening is kind of something that TLO really popularized back in the beta, as it just gives the Terran player a lot of options. So still too early to tell. He didn't make any add-ons on this barracks to go for any quick Hellions or anything like that, maybe a reactor or a tech lab to get some upgrades. So we'll have to see what his plan is. He is going to be making a Hellion and immediately slams down that starport. Still no second gas, so I'm not sure if we're going to see any kind of tech rush coming out of TLO quite yet.
Yeah, whereas HongUn does already have a second gas, but doesn't have any kind of tech buildings, so still not sure what he's planning on doing in this game. He's already up to 200 gas right now, just kind of making sentries out of that gateway. But I'd be really interested to see if he's going to go for that robotics facility. Oh, and there's just another gateway. Looks like he's going to be going for a 4-gate. HongUn getting ready to drop. There it is. We got 4 gates dropped down from HongUn in the back, 2 of them, so that the Terran will not be able to scout those or see them coming. So 2-gas 4-gate, really interesting in PvT. I often see the 1-gas 4-gate being more popular, just getting Zealots and Stalkers, but 2-gas does allow you to have either a higher Stalker count or put some sentries in there as well. So, I mean, TLO, with this essentially this 1-1-1 build right now, might be in a little bit of trouble when this 4-gate hits if he's not prepared for it. Although he could just deny any type of forward pylon getting put down if he has really good scouting and map control with these Hellions.
Yeah, so there's a probe running around right now trying to find some stuff, and this probe actually sees these Hellions and this medevac coming to pick them up. That is going to be absolutely huge. You see right now that he's controlling it. It will see that probe going down, and he will be able to snipe that probe before that forward pylon goes down. So now HongUn.Prime knows that there is the potential for a Hellion drop coming to his base, and TLO knows that there was a probe looking around the map to maybe throw down a forward pylon or any proxy tech or anything like that. So HongUn right now with a little bit more useful information, and again another probe getting taken out by TLO, so he's really shut down any potential timings for this 4 warp gate rush, and HongUn has not really been able to leave his bases. He needs to make sure that these Hellions don't do a ton of damage to his economy, otherwise the warp gate rush will not work. And all of this is allowing TLO to get scouting information and buy time for his upgrades and command center to complete, as we see siege tanks as well as siege mode being researched and produced right now. And TLO is also going to be landing these Hellions here in the LOS blockers in the back of HongUn.Prime's base.
Yeah, and he is going to scout those extra 2 gateways, so he knows exactly what's going on right now, as well as be able to try to do some damage to these probes. If he hits another hit, oh, he does not force those block off the Hellions. They're unable to do anything. They could have taken out probably about 8 probes with 1 more hit there, as they were all stacked up. Unfortunately, just not able to do that. But I love TLO's transition here. Getting that quick command center out of it and transitioning to siege tanks right after getting those first couple Hellions is really great to throw HongUn off guard. Now he's going to be attacking to siege tanks, which is obviously never something you want to be doing as Protoss. But it is kind of a blunder that he did end up losing those Hellions, and he also has not even brought that medevac back home yet. So. Oh, moving the medevac into the main. Could be using this as a distraction tactic to try to get the probes to run away. Unfortunately, either HongUn knows this or is not paying attention. Looks like he's paying too much of attention to his army, which is attacking up the ramp right now. Siege Tank's on the way. SCV is running to get ahead, but Siege Tank is a little bit too close up. He could target fire it. Unfortunately, HongUn does not target fire the Siege Tank. It's able to do quite a lot of damage, and he's forced to fall back there. Second Siege Tank is up as well. Definitely not going to be able to attack up into that ramp.
Yeah, but it looks like he's going to try and go for it again. C6 doing a ton of damage. The Zealots are already practically dead by the time they make their way up the ramp. Guardian Shield going down as well, but the sentries with the Guardian Shield cast go down immediately, and all HongUn is really able to take out every time he runs up that ramp is maybe a siege tank and a few Marines, and he's throwing away the majority of his army every time he goes for that. So this attack not working out for him at all, and it does look like TLO was caught wind of the fact that he's being very aggressive with nothing but wargate units. So he's going to go for some cloaked banshees right now to try and do some harassment and drive these forces away. And there's no robotics bay out right now for HongUn.Prime. Is instead going for a Twilight Council. So cloaked banshees at this point could completely end this game.
Yeah, an excellent decision right there from TLO, and really bad decision making from HongUn. Unfortunately, attacking up that ramp. He really, after he saw the second tank there, I mean, he didn't know it was there at first, but once he moved up, saw the second tank, really should have fallen back. He lost every sentry, every zealot, and his entire army now consists of 3 stalkers, and, well, the 3 sentries he just warped in his main. So, really bad losing that entire army right now, whereas, Liquid.TLO is, in a much stronger position, both economy-wise, getting that expansion up now, army-wise, and tech-wise with this Cloak Banshee that's going to be coming in just a couple seconds when this Cloak tech finishes.
Yeah, and it looks like HongUn is going to be trying to do a similar thing to what TLO is doing in that Dark Shrine. Unfortunately, Dark Shrines take even longer than Spires to finish at 250 seconds in game, I believe. And the Cloak Banshee is already in his base getting to work. TLO's not actually controlling it quite right. Spending some time focusing on that assimilator, now going to get to work on the probes and immediately throwing down that robotics facility. But will it be too little too late, as this Banshee's going to be able to rack up kills until this cloak runs out.
Yeah, he's just running all his probes. I mean, I don't know if he's just going to try to do some type of silly all-in where he just runs all his probes to his opponent's base and attacks, which would be a pretty bad move. Or it looks like he's just trying to buy time. I mean, he's losing a lot of probes in the process, but he's buying time on this Banshee's cloak and on his robotics facility. But he's not mining almost at all right now. The income tab is, of course, ridiculously one-sided, although TLO actually has a much smaller SCV count than I would have expected.
Yeah, and
he does
already
have a turret in position, though. Shouldn't be a problem at all. TLO completely prepared for this. He has no turret in his main, but unfortunately the DT was not able to run past. HongUn forced to call the GG, realizing that his DT was, of course, his last-ditch effort at winning that. So really great decision-making there by TLO, deciding to go for that Cloak Banshee when he knew his opponent was going pure gateway units. And unfortunately, a big blunder there for HongUn, moving that army up ramp against siege tanks. That's pretty much, if you've ever played Brood War, the biggest no-no in StarCraft is trying to attack up into siege tanks up on a cliff, walking up a ramp. So that game is going to be going to TLO there.
Yeah, and that's going to tie the series up 1-1. And both these players are going to be going into a third game, and that third game is going to be on GSL Terminus RE. RE stands for Revised Edition. A little bit of StarCraft 2 trivia for you guys there. And with the series tied up 1-1 and both these players going on to Terminus, I do think that we're going to see a bit more of a macro-oriented game, as Terminus is a map that really does favor the macro-oriented styles, as it's really easy to secure 3 bases. There's a lot of airspace on the map, so you do have to be a little bit careful about things like drops. And we're going to get that third game started momentarily here after the short commercial break. So stay tuned. Once again, you guys are watching the Gigabyte StarsWar Killer Tournament number 6 here on IC Cup TV. I am Prodigy, and with me is Orb, and we'll be right back. Now we just have to wait for the commercial to end.
Oh, I guess my ad block is blocking it.
Yeah.
No, I have it disabled. That's interesting.
It's a little inconsistent. Sometimes it'll start right away for everybody and whatnot, but everybody should be getting back in just a second here from the commercial break. As that is one of the wonders of the internet, and I didn't hit the stop record button. Whoops.